Welcome to the weekly update on the state of the nation. As always, driven forward by Pace Car Rental. You've got two jobs to do. You've got to rent a car through Pace, and you've got to subscribe and like the State of the Nation channel. As you know, on the State of the Nation, we've been following the Government of National Unity as well as the developments in the city of Gauteng very, very closely, and things are really hotting up. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm quite a big fan of, sort of Mafia movies, modern Mafia movies. I really enjoyed The Sopranos. And if you watch shows like that, you'll see something that always happens, and that is that the modern-day mob, back in the old days, the Mafia really was born out of prohibition, and they ran liquor stores and speakeasies and sold illicit alcohol, and that gave birth to a massive industry which moved into a whole lot of things. And then there was a move by the mob to actually legitimize itself. And they always chose two industries, and it's still like this to this day. In the major American cities, the mob controls two things. They control construction and they control waste management. Really kind of messy businesses. Not those nice businesses where you put on your suit and tie, go sit behind a desk, come home with clean hands. No, this is really dirty business. Big guys with lots of muscles and big hammers and tool belts and so on, working on dirty lots, doing the jobs that a lot of people don't want to do. And it's been a place where even in a place like America, the mob has taken over. Now in South Africa, that has happened too. We've got our construction mafias, which we know all about. So really what happens is you're busy building a building, somebody comes along, says, hang on a second, we are the local business forum in this area, and we get to tell you who you're going to hire, who you're going to order from, and in other words, you'll take all the risk, but you'll cut us into the deal, or else surprisingly, your building won't go up. And you never know, maybe your car gets burnt or your trucks get burnt, or maybe, unfortunately your wife and kids don't make it home from school. Exactly mob-like. That's how the construction mafia works in South Africa. To think that South African cities would be spared the second part of the mob operating procedure, which is waste management, would be downright negligent. It would be childlike. And so it has happened. In most of our cities, the waste management is not run by the cities anymore. It's outsourced to waste management companies. And often under the guise of BE or transformation, these are organized by dodgy companies who get a massive contract and deliver what is in most cases, a very average service, cutting corners wherever they can. Now, as we know from our favorite mob movies, you better not, once the mafia is in, you better not try and get them out, because people will die. And this is what is starting to happen in the city of Tshwane, where the waste management is managed by a bunch of cronies. Now, in South Africa, in America, we understand how the mob works. And in most cases, they get hold of a crooked politician or two, get some dirt on him, or give him a backhander, and then they get the contract. In South Africa, it's a little bit easier than that. It's in many cases worked the other way, where the politician goes to one of their mates and say, you set up the waste management company, we'll make sure that you get the project. So it has come to pass by all accounts in the city of Tshwane, where their waste management has been terrible. The city's dirty, just like Johannesburg. So quite clearly, the waste management service and the environmental services are not being done with ruthless corporate precision. This is being done by companies with very poor infrastructure. City of Tshwane trying desperately to clean the place up, because no particular party has had a majority there in over 10 years. What is happening there now? Currently, the city is being run by a coalition led by the Democratic Alliance, with the help of Action SA and a few of the other multi-party charter partners. But the national election happened, the ANC was meant to go into coalition with the DA. That was meant to filter down to the provinces and the cities. Quite simply hasn't happened. And I think the reason is becoming quite apparent. And that is that the ANC could see that if they were in this grand coalition, the coalition partners may start asking some very uncomfortable questions. So they did it anyway. They put out the next tender for waste management and put in just 3 very basic provisos. Very, very basic provisos. And that is that all the trucks should be newer than 9 years old. Now, in most cities, if you look it up, the average age of waste management trucks, which we know get battered and used, these vehicles are not meant to be on the road forever because they will degrade quite quickly, is about 3 years old. In city of Tshwane, they brought in a limit of 9 years old. They also said they've got to be licensed. Well, as far as I know, every vehicle on the road is meant to be licensed. And the third part is that they should have GPS tracking. This is not 1924, it's 2024, and we can track where these vehicles are, and we can see that what they say they do, they are doing. And this brought out howls of protest from the opposition benches in the ANC, who now want to put forward a motion of no confidence against the mayor, right, which is par for the course. We knew it was coming. But the bottom line is that it's not about the mayor or not. It's about the fact that somebody from the ANC called George Machila has even threatened members of the mayoral committee to say, do not put these measures in, or else we will have a motion of no confidence. Needless to say, this hasn't worked. So what was the next step? The next step is to try and make out like the city is an absolute mess, which it kind of is, and to try and get the motion of no confidence through based on what is South Africa's favorite friend, racism. They have a white mayor. The ANC and the EFF are accusing Mayor Celia Brink of being racist, a young white boy, and we even had one of the EFF members within the city of Tshwane saying that he wants to moer a boer. That's apparently not hate speech. So, what's happening here? Well, recently we sat down with an interview with Herman Mashaba. And Herman Mashaba doesn't need a lot of encouragement to turn on the DA in a big way. He does really not like them at all. And he says the problem is that the DA is corrupt because they won't get rid of these corrupt elements. Now, I want to say to Herman Mashaba and anybody that watched that interview, how are you meant to get rid of these corrupt people when the government, when the ANC won't let you get rid of these corrupt players? This is a problem throughout South Africa, and if we are going to tackle corruption, it's going to be really, really difficult. We're going to need some tough guys that are prepared to stand their ground. And now the fact that Action SA seems to be throwing in their lot with the ANC that is resisting the government of national unity, I'm not sure that we can count on Action SA to hold people to account. What now? Well, what has become absolutely obvious is that within the province of Gauteng, which is a hell of an influential province, the biggest economy by far, the biggest population, even though it's the smallest province, there's a battle for the soul of the ANC. Because tangled up in the web of transformation, progress, changing the complexion of business ownership, is also a web of companies that are not out there to do the best job at the best price. These are just people out to get money for jobs that they are ill prepared to do. And Gauteng is pushing back against the government of national unity and trying to bring it down from within. So we have a situation where the government of national unity is operating centrally at national level. It's operating in many of the provinces, but it's not operating in Gauteng, where in Gauteng, we have a situation where we are still being run as things were run prior to the last government election. What happens next is going to be very, very interesting, because at some point, our president, not known for his courage, not known for his action, is going to have to do something. Either he's going to have to break down this government of national unity, or at very least kick the Democratic Alliance out, or he's going to have to stand by his government of national unity and restore some order in Gauteng. Now, I know you've probably got sick and tired of me telling you what a mess Gauteng is, but it really has to be seen to be believed. And understand that this economy in South Africa, which we desperately need to turn around, will not turn around if the business center of the country is this bad. The same thing happened in the US in the 1970s when New York became riven with crime, as did some of the other cities. And the country will not grow economically unless there is a firm hand in taking back Gauteng, the business center of South Africa. Now, I'll gladly be the only person that will harp on about it, but something has to happen. Now, I want to move on to another point which is linked to this point, and that is that my interview with Herman Mashaba was quite instructive. Because really what it proves again and again is that when you have a breakaway party led by a personality, in most cases, somebody who says, I can't take it anymore, I'm going to do a better job, they become mortal enemies of the party that they have left. Mortal enemies. And even if, in this case, the DA and Action SA were meant to be mortal enemies of the ANC, MK, EFF, Doomsday Coalition, as they called it before the election. The hatred between the two is far worse than what they have for their so-called Doomsday Coalition. And this is clear. It's clear because Herman, who's a man that I really like, cannot finish a sentence without having a go at the DA. And I don't want to harp on that. What I want to say is that why do South Africans think that the EFF and MK that have broken away from the ANC aren't doing exactly the same? Well, they are. We know that they are. Right? They've left for ideological reasons. They've left the party. And it's a little bit like a divorce. Why do you think that your ex-husband or ex-wife is suddenly going to be your biggest fan? In most cases, they're the person that would love to see the end of you the most. So I am just listening to what I hear from somebody who's prepared to talk, i.e. Herman Mashaba, who can only talk about the DA in derisive terms, which is fine. I understand. He motivates it, and that's all good. But the reality is you're never going to get that guy back into the DA. Why is South Africa laboring under this idea that Julius Malema is dying to get back into the ANC? Well, there is something that he hankers after. It's the same thing that Herman Mashaba hankers after. And that is that they see themselves as a better version of the party they've broken away from. And they want to go back into the party to take it over. It's as simple as that. They don't want to merge. They want to take it over. This is the classic case of looking for a host body, right? One of those organisms that lives inside a host. The EFF, MK, and they've said it. In actual fact, the most honest person about this has been Jacob Zuma, who says he wants to go back into the ANC and take it over and turn it back into Zuma's ANC. What was Zuma's ANC? It's the current MK party. So in other words, he doesn't want to merge with the ANC. He wants to take it over from the inside. What does Herman Mashaba and Action SA want to do? They don't want to merge with the DA. They want to take it over. In other words, the big message is we want them to die and you to vote for us. And whether it's whatever the colors are, that's immaterial, as long as I'm the leader, because I'm the guy who can take it over. They don't want to collaborate. They don't want to cooperate. They want to take them over. There's one area that they do want to cooperate, and that is in the case of corrupt organizations where they see their ideological differences as standing in the way of making money. They are then quite happy to work together with their old comrades to steal money, and that's currently what's happening in the city of Tshwane. Now, South Africa's biggest challenge is not racism. It's not the government of national unity, the DA, Tshwane, waste management, trucks, etc. The biggest problem that we have is an economy that is not working. And this kind of action is really what happens in third world, what Donald Trump so eloquently called shithole countries, right, where your elected officials are actually the people stealing from you. Now we have a chance here. The government of national unity is going to make it a little bit more difficult, but certainly in Gauteng, they are trying very, very hard, under the guidance of Panyaza Lesufi, to bring down the government of national unity. How do they do it? They try and make it look like the parties are so ideologically estranged, and we're talking here specifically about the ANC and the DA, that they can't work together, therefore break it, let's go into a coalition with MK, EFF, and then it's an absolute orgy of theft and corruption as we saw in the Zuma reign. So what is it? Who is going to win? Well, it's going to be quite interesting, because right now, if you do what I do and you read the news and you follow events, we almost have this dystopian situation where at national level, the government seems to be showing seeds and starting to work towards a common aim. But in Gauteng, we're seeing a massive regression. South Africa will not grow if Gauteng doesn't grow. It would take a generation to replicate what's already built in Gauteng. It cannot happen in Cape Town. Sorry to all those people in Cape Town watching this. Cape Town can never be the business center, and I'll explain to you why. It's very simple. It's too remote. It's not where the people are. Yes, Cape Town is a very prosperous place and a lovely place, and we all love to go there on holiday, and we can all wear flowers in our, well, some of us used to have hair. But Cape Town can't be the business center. The business center, as it turned out, Gauteng, built on a pile of gold, is here, built up over 150 years, in the middle of South Africa, in the heartland, access to all of the bulk of the population, is the place we need to work in order to get our economy going. We need our industrial areas full, producing stuff that gets exported. We need to help the areas around Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, Northwest, etc. These are the places where the people are. And distribute it down to the areas that can actually do something with it. The ports of Durban, ports of Cape Town, and then we can all go to the Kruger National Park, the beaches in Durban, and the V&A waterfront and have a holiday and maybe attract a few tourists. But while Gauteng is of such a mess, it's never going to happen. And right now, what's happening in Tshwane, I think, is the seminal moment for South Africa. Which way do we go? Do we beat off corruption, or do we abide by it? The move is up to Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC to decide. And we will watch them very closely. So if you've enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel, go rent a car from Pace, use our special code, SONA, S-O-N-A, to get a discount when you book on their website. And we'll see you again in the next weekly update. Thank you.